Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to dive into a topic that touches all of our lives, but one we often, get wrong: grief. We're going to explore what it really means to grieve, way beyond the textbook definition, and how we can all find a way forward through losses of every kind.
So let's just jump right in with a big question. We usually think of grief as something that happens when someone dies, right? But what if that's only scratching the surface? What if that feeling of loss is so much bigger and broader than we've been led to believe? Because here's the thing, loss isn't just one single terrible event. It's, well, it's woven into the very fabric of life's biggest transitions. The end of a relationship, moving away from home, or even losing a part of who you thought you were. So who exactly is feeling this? Honestly, pretty much everyone at some point or another. But the thing is, it can feel incredibly lonely, especially when you're in a place that just expects you to power through it. Think about a place like Dubai, for instance. It's a city that's all about moving forward, about ambition. People are often thousands of miles from their families, from their support systems, and there's this unspoken pressure to just keep going, which can make actually processing a loss feel almost impossible. And when you look at who this really applies to, it just blows the old definition of grief wide open. We're talking about someone going through a divorce, an expat who's desperately homesick, someone who lost their job and with it, a big piece of their identity. Heck, even supposedly happy changes, like becoming a parent or having your kids leave home, can bring a profound sense of loss for the life you had before. It really proves that grief is not a one-size-fits-all deal. It has so many different faces. You can grieve a relationship that ended, an identity you outgrew, or even grieve for a future you had all mapped out that now you know will never happen.
Let's get specific. Take relocation grief. This is that deep, aching feeling of missing your home, your community, your culture, all the things that ground you after you've moved. It's so real, and it is absolutely a form of grief.
And then you have something called anticipatory grief. This one is really complex. It's the process of mourning a loss before it's even fully happened. Like when you're taking care of a sick family member or watching a parent get older, the grieving actually starts long before you say that final goodbye. All right, so let's move into our next section because this is where a huge hidden struggle lies for so many of us. It's this myth that grief is supposed to follow some kind of schedule.
I really want you to think about this one. Have you ever heard that little voice in your head, the one that says, "Come on, you should be over this by now"? That internal pressure, that feeling that your sadness has just stuck around too long, it is such a common and painful experience. And here is the simple, powerful truth. Grief has no deadline. There is no by now. Healing isn't a straight line, and feelings you might have buried years ago can absolutely still need a safe space to finally come out and heal. And this is so, so important because trying to ignore grief isn't just an emotional struggle. It has very real consequences. Studies show that unresolved grief can lead to depression, it can cause actual physical health problems, and it can make it really hard to form deep connections with people later on.
Okay, but what about all the other confusing emotions? Because it's not always just sadness, is it? People often wonder, is it okay that I feel so angry or guilty? What about feeling nothing at all, just totally numb? The answer is a huge, absolute yes. All of those feelings are part of the normal spectrum of grief. Sometimes numbness is just our brain's way of protecting us. Anger and guilt are often how we try to make sense of something that feels completely senseless. They are all valid. So we've established that grief is messy, it's personal, and it definitely has no timeline. So what can we do? Let's talk about a real concrete path forward, getting support through therapy. Now, the very first thing to understand about grief counseling is this. A good therapist isn't there to push you or to tell you to get over it. The goal is simply to walk beside you, to support you as you move through all of it at your own pace. And you can see here, therapy isn't just one thing. It's a whole toolkit designed for specific challenges. You've got narrative therapy to help you find meaning in your story. CBT can help you tackle those feelings of guilt and regret. Mindfulness gives you tools to just stay centered when those big emotional waves hit. It's an approach that's tailored just for you. And all of this brings us to what is maybe the single most important message in this entire journey. It's simple, but it is everything. What makes grief so much heavier is the isolation. That feeling that nobody gets it or that you're just being a burden on everyone. But the core promise of finding support is right here. You do not have to carry all of that weight by yourself. This is really the unique power of therapy. It's a space that's built just for your story. You can be completely honest, say anything, without ever worrying about being judged or upsetting a friend or family member. It's a container built just for your healing. And please, I want you to hear this loud and clear. It does not matter if the loss happened yesterday or 10 years ago. Sometimes we have to keep our heads down and just keep going for years before we finally have the space to feel what happened. It is never, ever too late to begin healing. So we'll end on this thought. Your experience, your story of loss, is completely and uniquely yours. But that doesn't mean you have to figure out the path forward all alone. The next chapter is still waiting to be written. The only question is, who are you going to invite to help you write it?